Welcome back to Multiversal Studios. Well guys, it's been a while. As most of you guys have read my community posts, my channel was hit by multiple strikes from a company in Japan. The most frustrating time for me, but now we're back. But before we begin with the video, I want to thank everyone who supported my channel while it was temporarily shut down. It really means a lot. Now, what if Alexis was the protagonist instead of Jaden? Part 3. Now, as most of you guys who have clicked on this video will know, I've already created a part 1 and part 2, and if you haven't seen them, go check them out now, as this is a part 3 and probably won't make much sense without them. Now, before I do that, I just want to shout out a few people who have motivated me to create this video. So a special thanks to Pokemon Lover, Uncle Brian81, Kagemaru397, Pharaoh Fox Kamen 67, Gamepad 31, The EV Kingdom, Vakura, Guy Malcolm, Mark Magician 2, Starfall Nova, Paul Morrison, Draco77 Blue 3, Omega Phoenix, Self Tando, Happy Love, Lord Voldemort, Nor, The Reddish Shirt, 1973 Match 1 Mustang. Last but not least, a big thanks to Charm City Gamer, who was my biggest supporter for this video. So yeah, I really appreciate it guys. Alright, let's jump right into the video. Well then, let's do a little recap. We last left off with Alexis attempting to bring Zane back from the darkness. The duel was intense, however it ended in a draw, with Alexis passing out from the sheer intensity of the electricity running through her body from the shock collars she was forced to wear. As she lay there unconscious, a mysterious stranger picks her up and helps her to her feet. It was none other than Jaden Yuki.
You can count Jaden Yuki as present, thank you? Well, just so long as I don't lose my grip.
Alexis didn't recognize him, however, he smiled at her with a goofy confidence. He obviously recognized her, however, she had no idea who he was. He didn't appear to be a student at the academy, as he was wearing very casual clothes. Alexis thanked him for helping her, and slowly got to her feet. She had a lot of questions for the mystery boy, however, she was in no shape to make conversation. She made her way towards her dorm and to bed, but not before taking one look back at him and asking his name. He excitedly told her his name was Jaden Yuki, and that he would wait here until she was feeling better. Alexis was very confused by this, however, she didn't question it and turned away, collapsing onto her bed, still in her obelisk blue uniform. The next morning, Alexis woke feeling incredibly sore with intense pain around her neck and arms, exactly where the shock collars had previously been placed in her duel against Zane. She made a mental note to go get it checked at the hospital where her brother was currently staying due to his own injuries from his duel with Zane. It was at that very moment she remembered the mystery boy from the night before. She probably imagined it as she glanced out of the window as if to see if Jaden would still be out there. But lo and behold, there he was in the same spot as yesterday, sleeping on the grass. Alexis was puzzled by the whole situation, however, he did pique her interest, so she went and got ready, and met him downstairs, and a few kicks later, she finally managed to wake him up. She asked him why he was sleeping under her dorm window, and that she could get him reported for being a stalker. However, Jaden only laughed and said he wasn't from this island and he had nowhere to stay. He pointed out onto the pier where a little wooden boat was stationed, big enough to fit only one person. He had really rowed all the way to Duelist Academy. She asked him why he would travel all that way, and without skipping a beat, Jaden replied, saying he travelled all that way for her. Alexis couldn't help but blush at how blunt and direct he was. He reached into his pocket and brought out a card. It was a fiend-type monster, a card called Yubel. To be more specific, he said, this card has been searching for you, as he brought the Yubel card closer to her face. So just to be clear, a random guy she had never met before just told her a card had been searching for her. The look of confusion on her face must have been quite apparent, as Jaden apologised and told her that it would all become clear if she duelled him. Alexis reluctantly agreed, but told him that she wouldn't go easy on him as she wanted to visit her brother Atticus. But she also secretly wanted to know what Jaden was talking about.
Ready?
Oh yeah. Duel! Get your game on, Alexis. Here we go.
Alexis and Jaden picked their dueling spot, which was closer to the sea, where the fresh sea breeze was abundant. Alexis took charge and made it clear that she was making the first move of the duel, which Jaden seemed more than happy with. He seemed really excited to even duel. Something about his carefree demeanour irritated her, but she wasn't sure why. Alexis realised that her past few duels had been super intense, with a lot riding on the line, so she subconsciously had her guard up right from the very start. Whereas Jaden seemed to be having the time of his life, with one hand on his deck ready to draw and start his turn. Alexis activated polymerization, fusing his Etoile Cyber and her Blade Skater from her hand to create Cyber Blader. She decided to start strong and teach this punk a lesson in dueling.
So you impressed?
Impressed? I think I'm in love.
You're sweet. Too bad I have to crush you.
He drew from his deck. Jaden summoned his elemental hero, Sparkman, a hero monster. She had seen hero monsters before against her duel with Aster, but these were different. They radiated a different kind of energy. She didn't feel as intimidated like she did when facing the Destiny hero monsters. Jaden then followed by activating E for emergency call, summoning elemental hero Clayman. Similar to Alexis's play, he also activated polymerization, fusing the two monsters together to summon elemental hero Thunder Giant. It destroyed her Cyberblader with this ability and dealt her 2,400 points of damage by attacking her directly. Alexis's confidence took a massive hit as she realised that the guy she was dueling was no joke, and he knew a thing or two about dueling. As the duel continued, Alexis came across many of Jaden's fusion monsters, each with a different unique special ability. In combination with his Skyscraper field spell, Alexis found herself on the back foot of the duel. When it was Alexis's turn, she was about to draw. However, Jaden interrupted, sending a shiver down her spine with what he said. He asked her why she wasn't tapping into the power of the Light of Destruction. How did he know about that, she thought to herself. Almost as if he could tell what she was thinking, he told Alexis that Yubel could sense that power inside of her. It was actually that power that alerted Yubel to her location in the first place. Alexis, still a little confused at what he meant by that, decided to ignore him. But he did have one good point. This duel would probably be going a different way completely if she tapped into the Light of Destruction. Before she made a conscious decision to use that power, it flooded into her veins. That weird energy. Alexis's eyes turned a different colour once more, and she drew a card from her deck. It was the White Veil spell card. She was taken aback by this draw. She was contemplating whether she should use the card or not. It was the same card that nearly made her lose control of herself against Zane in her duel. However, she was up against the wall. If she didn't use the card, she would pretty much lose the duel, and something inside her, a second voice in her mind, was urging her to play this card. Alexis succumbed to the pressure she felt in her own chest. She started by removing 4 ice counters from her Snowman Crater card, and special summoned the Snow Dust Dragon from her hand, which she then sacrificed both monsters to summon her iconic Ice Queen monster, which had 2,900 attack. Jaden had Elemental Hero, Wild Edge, as well as 3 face-down spell trap cards. Alexis activated a White Veil spell card, and Jaden gritted his teeth like he was expecting it, and countered by activating Diffusion, splitting his Wild Edge into Wild Heart and Blade Edge, to give him 2 monsters to protect his life points. And then Alexis ordered an attack using her Ice Queen, destroying the Blade Edge, as well as all of Jaden's spell and trap cards, leaving him with 1 monster on board. Alexis could feel the power of light growing increasingly stronger as the attack went through. She clutched her chest as she could feel the power swelling inside. Seeing Alexis' demeanour change as she played the White Veil, Jaden knew it was time and drew from his deck. He activated O for Oversoul, bringing back his elemental hero Sparkman. And similar to Alexis sacrificing his Wild Heart and Sparkman, he summoned the card Alexis had heard so much about, and it was Yubel. As Alexis looked up at Yubel, she noticed that she didn't look like other cards. She looked very real, as if it wasn't really a hologram from a duel disc. It had 0 attack points, but something about Yubel seemed very familiar to Alexis. Alexis could feel her thoughts being infiltrated by the light once more, like it did when Sartorius had taken control of her completely. The light inside her seemed to have grown so much faster as Yubel was summoned, and Alexis declared an attack on Yubel with the Ice Queen. However, the attack seemed to dissipate as it made contact with her. Yubel then countered with an attack which went directly through the Ice Queen, dealing the damage right back at Alexis's life points. She lost 2,900 life points, which meant Alexis had lost the duel. As soon as she did, she could feel the grip of the light leave her mind instantaneously. She looked up. All the monsters had disappeared from the field, apart from Yubel, which remained even after the duel was over. Yubel spoke to Alexis, saying her name. This caught her by surprise, as not only did a monster card speak to her, but he knew her name. She told Alexis not to be alarmed, and that she would explain everything to her. Yubel started to explain her story. She told Alexis about when she was human. The king had told her that one day the Light of Destruction would return, and when that day came, only the Supreme King had the power to defeat it, and send it back to where it came from. However, the Supreme King would need a protector, someone to guide them and make sure they are safe and ready to face the new evil. Yubel volunteered for that position, going through a sacred ritual and turning her into a monster spirit. Alexis listened intently, however wondered how this had anything to do with her. Yubel continued to explain how she was locked in a card, and a special family was chosen to keep Yubel safe until the Supreme King was reincarnated. Jaden was a member of that family, which had sworn to keep Yubel safe and help her find the Supreme King. So Jaden's father passed the card down to him. Yubel came closer to Alexis and bowed in front of her and said, "You, Alexis, are the Supreme King. I have been waiting for all these years." Alexis glanced at Jaden to see if this was some kind of sick prank. However, Jaden nodded in confirmation. Alexis took a minute to compose herself and finally said that this was impossible, and she didn't even know what the Supreme King was. Yubel asked her if she ever wondered how she broke out of Sartorius' control in the first place, when everyone else needed to be defeated in a duel. Alexis thought back to a duel against Hasselberry where she managed to break out of the spell she was under. Yubel's face changed to a look of concern, and told Alexis that there was still some evil inside of her, and that it was slowly sapping the power of the Supreme King inside of her. She went on to explain why it was becoming harder and harder to control the power of light. It's because the Supreme King was fighting the Light of Destruction inside of her the entire time, temporarily allowing her to keep control of her body. From the duel they just had, Yubel knew that Alexis was starting to lose control, which Alexis never admitted but secretly agreed with her. Yubel's last words before she materialized back into a card was, "You must awaken the Supreme King before it's too late." It was just her look. She not only had an evil power inside of her that was trying to take over her body, but now she had another presence inside of her that she never even knew existed. Alexis looked at Jaden and asked him in a sarcastic voice how she was meant to unlock the Supreme King. Jaden had no idea, which didn't surprise her. However, he did look serious for a second and walked up to her, handing Alexis the Yubel card. He told her how great an honor it was to meet her and that they should totally duel again sometime. Alexis looked at the Yubel card and put it in her breast pocket away from her deck. From the sounds of what Yubel said, it probably won't mix with the cards she was given by the Society of Light. Alexis headed to the hospital to find Atticus casually flirting with Miss Fontaine. Alexis was relieved to see Atticus feeling better and sat with him. She ended up telling him everything that had happened. Atticus was strangely quiet and listened to her entire story, and then said, "It's simple then, we just need to awaken the Supreme King." Alexis was shocked at how well he took the story, but then Atticus reached into his pocket and showed her the card which had Night Shroud locked away, and he told her a piece of advice that stuck with Alexis. He said, "Sometimes you have to accept the darkness inside. I guess it was a family thing, as both the siblings had their own burden inside of them. This hit Alexis hard, as for the first time in a while, she felt like she truly understood her brother. Atticus assured her that tomorrow morning he would help her unlock her powers. Alexis went home feeling much better, as she had her brother on her corner, and she didn't feel as alone, which she had done ever since she had received these strange abilities. She finally had someone that she could confide in and understood what she was going through. That night, Alexis twisted and turned in bed. She had nightmares about the Supreme King enveloping her. She saw a dark image of herself, a girl she didn't even recognize, looking back at her with angry, evil eyes. She woke up in the middle of the night to a cold breeze in her room. It was at that moment her door swung violently open and Sartorius walked in. He looked a little different, however there was no mistaking it. It was him. Alexis instinctively reached for her duel disc. However, a calm voice, unlike Sartorius' normal voice, told her not to bother, as he was not here to duel. Alexis was taken aback. She couldn't hear any malice or evil intent coming from him. She couldn't even sense any of the lie of destruction inside of him. Sartorius explained that he was the part of Sartorius which still remained good inside of him and hadn't been corrupted. He told her that he didn't have much time and that his evil side had gotten hold of a satellite which he could use to infect the entire world if his plans were allowed to go through. Sartorius then handed her a key and told her that he might take one of the 2 keys to power the satellite, as both are needed to activate it. He told Alexis to protect the key with her own life, as he truly believed that Alexis was the chosen duelist. Before Alexis could say anything, he had disappeared into thin air. There we go guys, that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all the support I have been receiving for these kind of videos. I really wanted to finish it in this video, but soon realised the video would be way too long. So I will be doing a part 4 soon, and that will be the final part. So if you like this video, make sure you go and like and subscribe. And yeah, until next time.